the most powerful brand you can build is one when your inner substance and your outer image work together. When you're authentic, you magnetize the people who resonate with you. My brand wasn't about chasing everyone. It was about attracting the right ones. This is why personal brand is part of the inner edge, because when your inner world and your outer image are in harmony, people don't just see you, they feel you. And when they feel you, and it's subtle, they trust you. Appearance, image, presence, those matter. But they should be a reflection of your truth, not a mask that hides it. Truth is magnetic. People are drawn to real, to authentic, to being who you are, not some contrived performance. Welcome to The Inner Edge, a podcast about leadership, self-mastery, resilience, and reinvention. Hi, and welcome back to The Inner Edge. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that might sound like it's a little surface level at first, but trust me, it's anything but service level. And what I want to talk about is your personal brand. Okay. So before you roll your eyes at the words personal brand, thinking about slick Instagram feeds or these carefully curated photos or logos or, anything that has to do with branding, which is kind of the reaction I used to have about that. Let me stop you right there. Because we're not talking about something that you manufacture, that somebody creates for you. It's something you uncover. And it's deeply tied to your personal inner edge. So I'll just share a little bit about a story of my own that I think you may resonate with and give you a little bit of my thoughts on this whole notion of personal brand, because it's big if you have your own business or if you're out there in the world. What you stand for is conveyed every single moment by what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're appearing to people. So let me tell you a little bit about when I first started my own business as a leadership development consultant, executive coach, and all of the things that I do. I heard the same thing over and over again from people. I really love what I'm doing, but people kept telling me, okay, the big thing about being an entrepreneur is that you need to market yourself. You need to be a brand. So when people said that to me, I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is fake, phony, all the things that I don't resonate with. And you can tell from everything that I talk about that is not my brand. And honestly, it felt overwhelming because I wasn't trying to be a product. I was just trying to build a practice that changed lives and it changed organizations. But everyone I talked to made it sound like if I didn't get my brand right, if I didn't focus on branding, I'd never succeed. So I did what many of you as leaders do. You hire experts. So I hired an expert. There was a consultant that specialized in helping women entrepreneurs build their businesses and scale to 7 figures. And that sounded great. I thought, okay, I looked at her online persona. I had heard her speak and everything sounded promising. So I signed up for a full strategy day with her, which, by the way, was not cheap. And it cost a pretty penny at the beginning of my business. But I said, hey, I'll come out of this with clarity. I'll understand what are some of the marketing, branding things I need to be doing. And I'll discover how to express who I truly am in this world. Instead, it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. So here's what was wrong with it. All right. She had no interest in me. She had no interest in my story, my values, my voice, my unique perspective. What she had, and I'm sure you've seen this, is she had a formula. And the formula, the steps to how to build my brand, went something like this. Look successful. Act successful. Project exclusivity. And she told me to get slick, really slick stage photos. Hire a photographer that, you know, makes you look really successful, pose next to luxury cars. Oh, make sure you stand next to really important people. Like get some important people and stand next to them, even if it's not real, even if you just stand next to them. And widen the camera angles. So when you're standing in front of people, it looks like there's a bunch of people that you're standing in front of. So her motto, and she said this, is act as if you're important. Then people will think you're important and they'll want to work with you. That was the formula. That's the brand. So you get the picture. It was all about the performance of importance. And it had nothing to do with reality. It had nothing really to do with what I stood for. And here's the thing, maybe that works for some people, but that definitely wasn't me. And it definitely wasn't my brand. So I think I discovered my brand through that process is that, hey, this formula, that's not me. And I remember walking away from that day feeling sick to my stomach. Not because I didn't think I could play the game. Now, listen, I have been in corporate America for many years, and I know impression management. I know the games. I know the politics. I know all of that. So it wasn't about managing impression, which is really what she was really focused on. But what I realized is that if I built a business on this type of formula, this kind of fake formula, I'd be building a lie, and it really wasn't what I stood for. And if there's one thing that I believe as a leader, a coach, and as a human being, is that truth is magnetic. People are drawn to real, to authentic, to being who you are, not some contrived performance, at least over time. Maybe at the beginning is like this shiny image, but being real, I think, is attractive. And that's when I understood something that completely shifted how I think about brand in general. Your personal brand isn't what you manufacture to impress others. It's the imprint you leave with others. It's the imprint you leave when you're living and leading from the inside out. Really, that's what the inner edge is. Now, let me be clear. Outer image matters. We can't pretend it doesn't. But I call that polishing the rock. You have to have the rock first, something foundational, something real, the substance, the depth, the integrity. Then you can polish it so others can see it from the outside and want to pick it up and realize how much substance there is. I get it. People don't always look at the substance first. They look at the rock, but there's got to be the substance there. And so I believe your brand is both. It's the substance, which is done and uncovered by the inner work, your values, your integrity, all the depth of what you bring to the table. And then the shine, the way you present yourself, your presence, your appearance, your clarity of message. All of those things are important. But if you ignore the shine completely, like some people just say, well, I've got substance, then your substance may never get noticed because people are not going to go for the rock that's unpolished. And people can't experience the depth of who you are if they can't see it in the way that you show up as this rock. So yes, appearance, image, presence, those matter. But they should be a reflection of your truth, not a mask that hides it. So what does this mean in the context of the inner edge? Your brand, your real brand, isn't just the polished photos, but it's not only your inner values, it's the alignment between the two. So think about it. And as you think about your own personal brand, do your values guide the way you show up in conversations? Does your presence feel grounded, or is it based on some performance formula that you've gotten over time? If I do this, then this, some prescription, the steps. Does the way you look and sound represent who you really are, or is there a disconnect? This is why personal brand is part of the inner edge, because when your inner world and your outer image are in harmony, People don't just see you, they feel you. And when they feel you, and it's subtle, they trust you. So looking back, I'm grateful for that day that I hired that consultant because it forced me to decide, am I going to build my business and my personal brand on someone else's formula? Or am I going to create a brand that reflects my real self, that rock, that substance, and then just polish it so that the outside reflects the inside? I chose the second path. And I'll tell you, that choice made my business soar. Because when you're authentic, you magnetize the people who resonate with you. The leaders and organizations who value presence, substance, and integrity found me, and they became my clients. My brand wasn't about chasing everyone. It was about attracting the right ones. So as we conclude this discussion here, because I think it was an important thing to talk about, because I think, it's all over the place. Excuse me. You hear about brand. I just want to give you a few invitations to think about as you think about your own brand. First of all, start with real substance. You got to start with the substance. Who are you really? What do you stand for? What do you want people to feel when they're with you? Polish the rock afterwards. Don't just dismiss appearance. How you present yourself does matter. Whether it's how you dress, how you communicate online, how you show up in a room, make sure you're paying attention to those things and that they're aligned and that they reflect the strength of your inside. So think about both of those things, but the outside after you've gotten the inside. And then finally, really what the secret sauce of all of this is you have to align the two. The sweet spot for your brand is when your inner edge and your outer polish are consistent. They meet. People know what you represent. And that is when your brand has power. So here's what I've learned in this journey. The most powerful brand you can build is one when your inner substance and your outer image work together. Because when your brand is aligned with that inner edge that you have, people don't just see the polished rock that has nothing inside. They see, feel, and trust the solidness and the solid truth and integrity that's inside it. So, if your personal brand is your rock, how are you polishing it? And does the shine reflect the truth of who you really are? That's your inner edge. And stay tuned because this topic is something that I'm going to peel back even further in further episodes, talking a little bit about how do you figure out what that foundation, what the rock is. But for today, I hope that you're coming closer to understanding what your brand really is.